bhagavato arahato sammāsambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammāsambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammāsambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Sanghaṃ namassāmi. So hello everyone. This is a pre-recording. So Ajahn Nisabo and myself, along with 30 pilgrims from the Seattle area, Clear Mountaineers, are currently from December 11th, 2022 until December 23rd, 2022, are going on pilgrimage in Thailand and to India, to Bodh Gaya specifically in India, to pay respects to living teachers in Thailand and to pay respects at the foot of the Bodhi tree by meditating in India. So for this video, this will be an introduction to a chant, which I think is really at the heart of pilgrimage. It's a recollection, a traditional recollection of the triple gem, recollection of the Buddha, of the Dhamma, his teachings, and of the Sangha, his noble disciples, people who have practiced his teaching and have realized the fruit of liberation. So this chant, which is oftentimes called the Itipi So when you're referring to it in brief. Itipi So literally just means and further this quote he. So it's it's just a shorthand for the first 3 words of the chant. And we find it in many suttas. It's what's called a pericope, which is basically a stock phrase, which you find these again and again in the throughout the Sutta Pitaka. They're phrases which the Buddha will use in different contexts, but using the same words. So it makes a lot of sense in a context when people are memorizing the discourses, for the Buddha to have said things in the same way in different contexts to different audiences so that they could be easily memorized. And this is just like a puzzle piece, or this is just a something which you could take, a template you could take from one instance and then insert it in a different context. So this praise of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha is something which the Buddha himself would say again and again in different contexts. So that's why it's taken as a both a modern day chant, the context for modern day chant, and was used throughout when he was himself alive, and has been used for the 2,600 years since he passed away. Perhaps the sutta, which is, you can kind of look at it as the origin of this chant, or at least gives the most background for this chant, is called the Dhajagga Sutta, which is Samyutta Nikaya in the 11th Samyutta, the 3rd sutta there. And Dhajagga means the top of the banner. So in this sutta, the Buddha introduces this recollection of the Buddha and the Dhamma and the Sangha through first giving an analogy, which goes into, he mentions the story of the devas and the asuras are in battle. So you've got these angels fighting these demons, the asuras. And the Buddha says, so when these angels are fighting the demons, Sakka, the lord of the devas, says to all of these angels, if when you're fighting and if any fear arises, then you can look at the top of my banner. So you've got these long flags, basically, as you've maybe seen in Braveheart or in other movies. And if any kind of fear arises, then you can just look at the top of my banner, and that should give you some courage, and to just keep on in your battle. And if you can't see my banner when you're in the thick of this battle, then look at the top of Pajapati, another Deva king. Look at the top of his banner. And if you can't see Pajapati's banner, then look at Varuna's banner, etc. And when he says that all of these devas, when they're in this battle, if they look up at the top of their king, their basically all of their leaders, it's possible or likely that the devas can get strength and courage, but it's not necessarily the case. Why is that? Because even the Lord of the devas, Indra and Sakka, and Varuna and Pajapati haven't put an end to greed, anger, and delusion. But he says that for a practitioner, when we've gone to wilderness, to the foot of a tree, to an empty building, if any kind of fear arises in our heart, then we can recollect this specific chant. And as we recollect this Itipi So chant, then we'll have courage, and our fear will subside. So that's the background, and then the Buddha gives this chant. And when we recollect the Buddha in this way, then our fear will subside. Why is that? Because the Buddha, the Tathagata, is one who's totally free from all greed, anger, and delusion. So therefore, recollecting him through this chant, through this recollection, then our, as the sutta says, our fear, terror, and, quote, horripilation, that's a Ajahn Jeff translation, will subside. So at this point, we'll begin. I'll just chant the chant once in Pali, and then go through it in English, and then go through it line by line. So in the Pali, the chant goes, Itipi So bhagavā'arahaṃ sammāsambuddho, Vijjācaraṇa-sampanno Sugato Lokavidū, Anuttaro purisadamma-sārathi Satthā deva-manussānaṃ Buddho bhagavā'ti. Sugato bhagavata dhammo sanditiko akaliko ehipasiko opanayiko pachatam veditabo vinyuhiti. Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho, ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho, nyaya patipanno bhagavato savaka sangho, samichi patipanno bhagavato savaka sangho, yadidam chatari purisa yukani attapurisa pugala, esa bhagavato savaka sangho, ahuneyo, pahuneyo, dakineyo, anjali karaniyo, anuttaraṃ punya ketam lokasati. So that's the chant in Pali. And as we will be doing at Clear Mountain on the evening of December 31st over New Year's, and as is done in many Theravada monasteries over New Year's, starting maybe at around 10:30 p.m. on New Year's Eve, and then chanting and finishing up right around midnight, or maybe just a bit after midnight. We'll chant that in Pali, just on repeat. Chant it 108 times. This is done at, I did it most often at Wat Phakram, Wat Chittabhavana, where Lumpur Biak is the abbot. He's a disciple of Lumpur Cha. But this is done in many, many monasteries in all the Theravada Buddhist countries. And it's done at Abhayagiri. We've done it many times there. And it takes, depending on how fast you chant, that whole round of the chanting in praise of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha can take anywhere from a minute, if you go quite fast, to maybe 2 minutes or longer, depending on how the chant leader or how yourself are, how you're taking it. You can chant it quite vigorously to give energy, which is often how it's done in our monasteries, or you can take it much more slowly, and as a tranquility meditation if you're just doing it by yourself. We'll go through the meaning in English right now, just in brief, and then go through each line by line. So the meaning is, in English, he, the Blessed One, is indeed the Pure One, the perfectly enlightened one. He is impeccable in conduct and understanding, the accomplished one, the knower of the worlds. He trains perfectly those who wish to be trained. He is teacher of gods and humans. He is awake and holy. That's the first recollection of the Buddha. And then we go into the Dhamma. The Dhamma is well expounded by the Blessed One, apparent here and now, timeless, encouraging investigation, leading inwards, to be experienced individually by the wise. That's the second section on the Dhamma. Then we go into the recollection of the Sangha. They are the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, who have practiced directly, who have practiced insightfully, those who practice with integrity. That is the 4 pairs, the 8 kinds of noble beings. These are the Blessed One's disciples. Such ones are worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of respect. They give occasion for incomparable goodness to arise in the world. So that's the section on the Sangha. And that's in brief, the summary of the meaning and going over it in Pali and in English. And we'll now go through just each one of those words. And there's actually a quite wonderful section in the Visuddhimagga. I'll try to put a link to that in the what's called the show notes here on YouTube. And in this section, a whole section on the Buddha, and then a section on the Dhamma, and a section on the Sangha, Buddhaghosa, the author of the Visuddhimagga, The Path of Purification, the primary commentary to the Pali Tipitaka, he gives a quite detailed explanation of each of these words. So the recollection of the Buddha is typically broken down into 9 different epithets or synonyms or elaborations, angles of the Buddha. And Buddhaghosa goes into a detailed commentary about the meaning of each one of these 9 epithets of the Buddha, and then the 6 meanings or 6 subsidiary definitions or angles on the recollection of the Dhamma, his teaching, and then a 9-part elaboration of the Sangha, the noble disciples. So that's very much worth reading. He goes much deeper than I'll be able to go into in this video. But just for summary and to give some context, we'll just do that in brief in this video. But I encourage everyone to really take this into your heart, whether you are doing this recollection of the Itipi So chant, this recollection of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha in the ultra invigorating 108-time mantra, which we do over New Year's, and I'm sure there are monks who do it every day. Whether you're doing that kind of vigorous style, or you're just taking it into your daily life and say investigating and taking any of these epithets of the Buddha, description of the Dhamma, description of the Sangha, you can really take any one of these individual words, individual concepts, and just take them as your meditation object and really just bring them into your heart, and no need to, just belt them out, quite loud 108 times, but just take each epithet into your heart, into your days, with the breath in meditation, or in any way you see fit. So jumping right in. So Itipi So bhagavā'arahaṃ sammāsambuddho. So these are the first three elaborations of the 9 epithets or names or descriptions of the Buddha. As I mentioned, Itipi So. Iti just is a quote indicator in Pali. Api just means further, or this is going to be elaborated, and so is a pronoun meaning implying the Buddha. And our first epithet for the Buddha is Bhagavā, which here is translated the Blessed One. So the root of this word means fortune. So this epithet is quite a common word in both in Sanskrit and in Pali Buddhism. When it's used in Pali, in the Tipitaka, it just is used to refer to the Blessed One or previous Buddhas. When it's used in Sanskrit, outside of Buddhist context, it can be used to refer to any blessed being. So it can refer to any of the gods of the pantheon in Hinduism, any of these blessed or beings who are worthy of giving a special honor to. So this is the Bhagavā. So if you were to use this word in your meditation, Bhagavā, that which is blessed. So what is that which is blessed in our life? And as with all of these epithets for the Buddha, you can use it to recollect specifically the Buddha, that being which Sakyamuni Gautama, the Muni of the Sakka clan, who lived 2,600 years ago in India, to remember his enlightenment, or you can memorize or use it to reflect on that which is blessed in the present moment. This awareness, basically awareness itself. This is how Ajahn Sumedho would oftentimes urge us to reflect. How do we bring this recollection into the present moment? What is blessed? This is an investigation in the present moment. And in many ways, this awareness, which is not biased by greed and anger, which just knows in the present moment, that's about as blessed as we can get in the present moment until we achieve the noble Dhamma in deeper and successive stages. So that's the first epithet. The next one is arahaṃ. So that which is the pure one, or arahaṃ can also mean the worthy one. It's translated in those different ways in our various different chanting books. And Buddhaghosa kind of elaborates this and plays on the word meaning in Pali. So you'll often find in Buddhaghosa's commentary quite playful renditions of etymologies, so like folk etymologies. So ara can mean far, so that which is far from delusion, far from defilement. And but it can also mean that which is araha, is that which is worthy. So the Buddha is the worthy one, worthy of respect. We'll get more into that in the recollection of the Sangha. But again, what is that which is worthy in our own heart, in our own present moment experience? So looking into that, and again, this is a meditation word. So I believe in the certain living traditions in Thailand, they'll take this mantra of samma arahaṃ. So samma is right, and arahaṃ is this word. So the worthy, the rightly worthy one, that which is right, that which is harmonious and worthy. So that's a meditation word which many people will use in present day Thailand and elsewhere. So arahaṃ, arahaṃ, arahaṃ. It's a meditation word. And with any of these, you can use it ara on the in-breath, hung on the out-breath, that which is worthy. Our third epithet is sammāsambuddho. So samma, that which is right, that which is harmonious. This is the word which you find in the modifying all of the factors of the Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These are all samma, that which is harmonious, that which is in tune. Sambuddha, Bud is the root, which means to awaken. So Buddho is Buddha. Buddha obviously is the awakened one, that which is awakened. And we have a whole separate epithet, the last one, in another recollection of one of the other epithets of the Buddha, one of these 9. But yeah, recollecting the fully enlightened one, the perfectly enlightened one, the rightly self-awakened one. This is the Buddha who attained enlightenment 2,600 years ago, but it's also what we're aiming towards. So our next epithet, the 4th in this series about the Buddha, is Vijjācaraṇa-sampanno, he who is impeccable in conduct and understanding, or that which is impeccable in conduct and understanding. This is what we're aiming for in our lives as Buddhists. Vijja is knowledge. So ja here is referring as the root of ñā, which is to know. So that which is knowing. Vijja is the Sanskrit and a Pali root, which means both understanding and knowledge, and is even, it's in modern day Thai and in various different Indian dialects. I think it can mean like a study in higher education. So this is our higher education of understanding. Sampanno, Vijja Sampanno. Sampanno is full accomplishment. So pad is the root of panna, and it means basically walking or moving towards, and literally sampanno, the past participle. This is accomplishment. Sang meaning together with, pad, that which is moving forward. Sampanno, that which has accomplished, that which is done, understanding this higher education. So we're studying the mind. This is our higher education in Buddhism. Charana is from the root char, which also means behavior or acting. So we're trying to improve and work on our conduct. So the Buddha was said not only to be perfect, which is another translation of sampanno, but accomplished or impeccable in not only understanding, but also in conduct. So this is referring back to sila. This is the sila aspect, the morality aspect of our training. So in the Visuddhimagga, the path of purification, Buddhaghosa, I think, goes into 14 or so different aspects of morality. So the Buddha is accomplished in sense restraint, accomplished in moderation in eating, in devotion to wakefulness, as well as purity of body and speech and livelihood, along with other aspects of morality. And this is what we're trying to do as well. Not only are we working on being accomplished and impeccable in our knowing capacity, this knowledge, this understanding, both of the theoretical framework of Buddhism, but also just in the knowing, present moment knowing of reality right now without bias, but also how we live that. So are we maintaining lives of harmlessness? So we need to do both. The next epithet is Sugato, and this is translated here as accomplished one. Gut, or this is the root gum, which means also to go. And su can mean beautiful or well. So this is, other translations include the well gone one, the one who is thoroughly gone to awakening. And in our own lives, we can look at how are we beautifully going, and how have we beautifully gone to the Dhamma in the present moment, and how are we well and nicely going towards the Dhamma in the present moment and as a longer trajectory in life. Lokavidū. So vid is knowledge, vidū is one who has knowledge, and loka is the world. So this is one who is the knower of the worlds, and this both refers to, again, Shakyamuni Buddha, who lived 2,600 years ago, and our capacity for knowing the world. One of the Buddha's encouragements for us is to, he says in one discourse, we will be ones who know the even path and the uneven path of the world. Thus you should train yourselves. So what is the world? The Buddha asks. The world is basically the eye and forms, the ear and sounds, the nose and smells, the tongue and tastes, the body and touch, the mind and thoughts, intellect. So we are knowing these things in the present moment and paying homage to the Buddha who has known them fully. Anuttaro purisadamma-sārathi. This is our next epithet. Sārathi is literally rata is a chariot. Sārathi is a charioteer, literally. So purisa is a person. Dhamma is from the root dham, that which can be trained. So purisadamma is a person who can be trained. Anuttaro is unsurpassed. So this is literally an unsurpassed charioteer of people who can be trained. In this translation, he trains perfectly those who wish to be trained. A literal translation would be homage to he who is a unsurpassed charioteer or trainer of people who are trainable or tameable. So how are we doing that in the present moment? How are we taming our own obstreperous and wild ways? Can we do that in the present moment? It's a good challenge right now. Our next description of the Buddha is Satthā deva-manussānaṃ. Satthā is literally the teacher. So the Buddha is the teacher of devas or angels and manussānaṃ, of devas and humans. So this is an acknowledgement that the Buddha was teaching celestials. He was teaching on a divine level. He was teaching on multiple levels. So this is another recollection, separate one level. So recollection of the devas, deva-manussānaṃ. We can bring this into our present life, present moment. Deva literally means that which shines, ones who shine. So we can, if we don't believe in these devas, these angels, how are we tapping into that which is bright in the present moment, but also recollecting maybe there is something beyond which we can see, paying homage to the Buddha as being someone who can see that which is bright and can teach on these multiple levels. Buddho bhagavā'ti, these are the 8th and 9th reflections of the Buddha. So Buddho is the one who's awake, and this, as many people will recollect, this is a meditation word which Ajahn Mun and subsequently Ajahn Mahabua and likely people from the time of the Buddha have used as a meditation word. So we're often taught in a Thai forest tradition to reflect Bud on the in-breath and Do on the out-breath. And you can use that as a mantra to keep track of the breath, because oftentimes if you don't have a mantra or not counting your breath, the breath can just slip away. But if you yoke your mind to this meditation word along with the breath, or even independent of the breath, that can just keep us recollecting that which knows. The Thai translation in a Thai chanting book of this word Buddho is threefold. So it's Pu Ru, Pu Dön, Pu Bok Ban. So homage to the one who knows, Pu Ru, Pu Dön, the one who is awake, Pu Bok Ban, that which is bright and awake and blossoming. So we're paying homage and tapping into that which knows, that which is awake, and that which is fresh in the present moment. And in Bhagavā, that which is, this is the quality of being blessed. So that's the 9 epithets of the Buddha, and we'll jump into the Dhamma. So the Dhamma has 6 descriptions in this recollection. The first one being Sugato bhagavata Dhammo. So bhagavata, by the Blessed One, that's bhagavata. Dhammo is the Dhamma, so the Dhamma of the Blessed One or by the Blessed One is Sugato. So we have the prefix su, again, beautiful or well, kata, the root ka, basically teaching. So the Dhamma of the Blessed One is well taught. So this is a beautiful thing. I love reading the Pali Canon, and people, when you get to know it, you'll come to appreciate this, just how beautifully the different parts of the canon, the Buddha's teachings as we get them in Pali, just fit together. You know, there's not all these disparate, and how do you explain this discourse or that? And the Buddha does use a lot of metaphors, but his teachings just fit together so well. The 37 wings to awakening, the 5 powers, the 5 strengths, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the 4 this, the 5 that, the 3 this, the 3, 4, 7, whatever, they all fit together well. The Dhamma's been well expounded. There aren't all these disparate parts which just don't fit together. You don't find the Buddha giving extremely hard to interpret metaphors which could give interpretation towards violence. You don't find that anywhere in the canon. So the teachings of the Buddha have been well expounded. And so how do we teach our own hearts well in the present moment? And we pay homage to that Dhamma. So we're paying homage both to the teachings. So oftentimes in a Theravada country, at a monastery, on a shrine, you'll find both a Buddha statue. So that's paying respects to the Buddha. You'll pay respects. There's oftentimes the Tipitaka, the Pali Canon, will be in a shelf in either 40 volumes or 82 volumes, and right near the shrine or on the shrine. And you pay respects to the word of the Buddha, but you're also paying respects to the Buddha, to the Dhamma in our own hearts. And then you might have statues of Shariputra Moggallana, the Buddha's foremost disciple in wisdom and psychic powers, in statue form on his right or left, and paying respects to the Sangha, which will oftentimes be on a slightly higher level in a Theravada Buddhist country. Our next description of this Dhamma is sanditiko. So ditta is, it means a view, or that view which is sun together. So a view which is here and now. apparent now. Sanditiko is a word which is also used for the present moment. So we are looking for the Dhamma right here and right now. This is the only thing we can know. We can't really know the future. Our awareness of the past is only partial. So we know right now, this is our whole practice. And this is where we will eventually realize full awakening. This is the practice ground of our meditation. Akaliko, the Dhamma is timeless. So kala is time. Akala is that which has no time, or that which is beyond time, or not timeable. So the Dhamma is present here and now. And all 6 of these descriptions of the Dhamma are also used to describe Nibbana. So Nibbana is here and now, timeless, encouraging investigation, leading inwards, to be experienced individually by the wise. Our next description is the Dhamma is ehi passiko. Ehi, come, passiko, that which is seeing. So encouraging investigation, encouraging one to come and see. So there's no kind of closed fist. We just need to bring the Dhamma, encourage the Dhamma to come into our hearts. Next quality, opanayiko, that which is, the root is nai, or na, which is to lead, and opa, or o, ava, which means down into, and pa just means forwards, that which is leading forward down into ourselves, into the heart, into the present moment. This is where we're practicing. Pachatang veditabo vinyuhi, to be experienced individually by the wise. So vinyuhi, by vinyu, those who know, veditabo, to be experienced, pachatang, pachatang, basically right now in the present moment. This can be done right now by the wise. So those are the 6 attributes of the Dhamma. Let's do them right now. And the 9 attributes of the Sangha, which we chant and can use as meditation objects, supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. So the savaka sangho, the Sangha is the group. There are 2 types of Sangha. You have the Arya Sangha, those noble beings, both lay and monastic, who have realized the noble truths, past and present. We pay respects to them. And then the other Sangha is the Sangha of bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. So those who've ordained, we pay respects to the robes, pay respects to noble beings. Those are 2 types of Sangha. And Savaka can be used, Savaka is related to the root sus or sud, that which is heard. So these are hearers, or disciples, those who've heard. Refers both to those people who were alive, his disciples, while the Buddha was alive, but just any of us, this hearing capacity of the Sangha. Bhagavato, of the Blessed One. So the Blessed One's hearer Sangha, so the Blessed One's disciples. Supatipanno, who are supatipanno. Patipanno is practiced or practicing. Su, well or beautifully. We pay respects to those living and past, future, present, all the Blessed One's disciples, including us, as we aim in this direction of being those who practice well. Let's do this in the present moment. Uju patipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. So patipanno, again, is practiced or practicing. It is a past participle, so those who've practiced well, but by extension, practicing. Uju is both upright in body, so it's a postural suggestion, but also, and much more importantly, those of us, this inclination to practice upright with integrity, that, which is going straight in a straight direction. Those who've practiced directly. So with that first, going back just real quick, Supatipanno, I think of this as, and this is just how I think about these first four factors of the Sangha. So Supatipanno, those who are practicing well, I think of that as being all well-practicing Sangha of all three types of Buddhism, the Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana. This is Thich Nhat Hanh, Dalai Lama, etc. Any of our beautiful teachers who are practicing well on a broad level. Ujjupatipanno, I think about these as those Sangha members who are practicing directly. So those who maybe not on a long path, but who are on a very direct path. Ajahn Mun, basically no nonsense. Ajahn Mahabua, those who say, go into the forest, practice directly. And again, this is just my own formulation, but how I can think about these different qualities. Nyaya Patipanno, the third aspect of the Sangha. Nyaya is methodical or a method. So those who are practicing methodically is a direct translation, and here it's insightfully. So they're taking it as with the based nya, or with knowledge or insight. I think about these as being the Savaka Sangha, those practitioners who practice with a method, or more like the intellectual side of things. So these are the Bhikkhu Bodhis and the Bhante Annalayos of present-day Buddhism. Samichi Patipanno is the fourth aspect of the Sangha. So this, our Samichi is integrity, or right practice. So those who are practicing with integrity. And I think about these as just being those who have a very rounded practice. So in my own mind, I think about this as being the Ajahn Chah, Ajahn Pasano, living my own teachers, Ajahn, the people who are very integrated and practice of integrity. So that's just how I think about these first four factors. Next clause is yadidang, so that yad, idang, this, chattari, four, purisa yugani. Yuga are pairs, so the people pairs, purisa is people, atta is 8, purisa pugala, so these are the 8 kinds of people, and that is referring to the 4 stages of enlightenment, those people who've attained the 4 stages of enlightenment. So 4 pairs, that's those who've realized sotapanna, or stream entry, the path and the fruit of stream entry, so that's 2, the path and the fruit of once return, or sakadagami, the path and fruit of non-return, anagami, and the path of fruit of arhatship. So that's 4 pairs, 8 kinds of noble beings. That probably deserves its own Dhamma talk, but this is in brief. Esa, this, Bhagavato, of the Blessed One, Savaka Sangha. These are the Blessed One's disciples. They are, and this is the last, these are the next qualities of the Sangha. Ahuneo, they're worthy of gifts. Pahuneo, worthy of hospitality. Dakineo, worthy of offerings. Anjali Karanito, worthy of respect. And the last quality of the Sangha. Anuttarang punya ketang lokasa. Anuttarang, this is the unsurpassed or incomparable. Punya is merit. Keta is a field. Lokasa, of the world. So this is the incomparable field, keta, of merit for the world. So that was a whirlwind tour of this chant. And hopefully people got out of it, and you got something out of it. And you can go back and watch this again. But I hope everyone does experiment both with all of these individual qualities by themselves, and using them as meditation objects or using it as a vigorous chant 108 times. All of you are invited to come for New Year's with Ajahn Nisabo and myself. And hopefully we'll be doing this in multiple years. And I wish everyone well, and may we all attain and know the truth of this triple gem, realize the Buddha, realize the Dhamma, realize the Sangha in our own hearts and in our own practices. So wish everybody all the best in your practice and our practices. So take care. Bye-bye.